friends. So today I've been thinking it's cold out. I've been thinking about warm beverages. So we're thinking we're coming up with a warm beverage. So that could be tea or cocoa, whatever you want. It's going to be a combination of warm beverages, patterns. We're going to be talking about patterns with it, and lines. And lastly, we're going to be adding a 3D element. And I'll show you what that is in just a second. So your final project will look something kind of like this. Okay. It's a, oh, lights went out. It's a mug, okay? And in the mug, you can pretend to either have tea, and then you could add a little tea bag strand, paper if you have that, if you have tea bags at home. If you don't have tea bags at home, but you have marshmallows, you could do the cocoa thing. Or if you don't have either, you don't have to add either of those elements. But if you have some Q-tips, look what I did there. We added some Q-tips to the top to make it look like the hot steaminess was coming up. And then, oh, sorry. Then we had, we added lots of patterns with it, and we used watercolors. So you will use white paper, oil pastels, watercolors, and some glue if you want to add these little three-dimensional elements to it. Anything else? Oh, and if you have Q-tips at home, a couple Q-tips would be handy to get the steam look. And if you have marshmallows, you could use marshmallows, or you could use the tea bag. I used both just because I was showing you guys how to do it, but that looks kind of funny because you wouldn't usually have marshmallows in tea. That would be kind of gross. You usually just do it with cocoa. So you probably would do one or the other. You would do marshmallows without the tea bag, or a tea bag without the marshmallows. But I did both just to see if it worked, and actually, it does work. So anyway, let's see how to go. Watch to find out. Okay, friends, so for this, as we said, you're going to be making a cup of either hot soup or hot cocoa or hot tea. And to decide, you might want to do what I'm going to do, which is going to be to add some three-dimensional elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I can either take a tea bag, that's one option. Another option is a few marshmallows, if you have those, if you want to make a hot cocoa. And then to show that it's hot, we're going to use either cotton balls if you have them, or I'm going to take the tippy tops off of Q-tips and use that to be a three-dimensional element to my work. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to start by making sort of my table. So I'm taking, it's hard for you to see my whole paper, but this is the top of the paper, this is the bottom of the paper. So I'm gonna just take a line, and I'm gonna start with my line in pencil really light, because I am gonna go over this with oil pastel, but I'm gonna start about here, and I'm not gonna go all the way with my line, I'm gonna go to like there, okay? So this is the back of my table. This is where the table ends, and then this is where the background of the room begins. And then I want to make my mug of tea or cocoa or soup or whatever it is I want to make. So what I'm going to do first, to be the top of the mug, I want the top of the mug about here because I want the bottom of the mug to be about here. So I'm going to start, what you're going to do is, it's going to seem a little funny, but you're going to draw an arched line from like there to there, not the whole width of the paper, and it's just a very subtle arch. And then you're going to draw another subtle arch that away. So it almost looks like the oval that you'd use for an eye, like the top of an eyelid and the bottom of an eyelid. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add sides to it. So you're going to put one side down like this, another side down like that, okay? And then the bottom of your cup or your mug is going to have that same line as you have here to make it look like it's round, right? Because we are trying to show the illusion of a round mug. So do you see how that makes it sort of look like a cylinder now? And the other thing you can add to it is a lot of times cups are on saucers, you know, like it's on like another little plate. So what you can do is you can just take, now I'm just going to take a line, I'm going to start it over here, and I'm just going to go around my mug and end it there. Okay, so then but now it's sitting on top of another mug or another plate. And then I'm gonna extend my line to there now. And if I want to put a handle on it, because most mugs have a little handle, you can do that. You can just go with a line like that. And then another line like that. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is now you're gonna turn to your oil pastels and you're gonna make patterns in all different parts. So I might do some different pattern in the background here. I'm gonna do a different pattern for my saucer, and then for my cup, maybe I'll have them kind of matching with colors. Then I'll do a different pattern for my tablecloth. So this is gonna be, this art is gonna be really filled with lots of different patterns. So I'm gonna start with, I might do like some snowflakey or stars or whatever you want to call in the background. And I'm just going to get some patterns going. Think about the patterns we've done in other projects, other line projects. You could do curvy lines, you could do stripes, you could do dots. Think about all the patterns we've done, or you've done just in other projects in your life, and really go crazy with that. So there's my background. So now I want to do, now I'm going to do something to my mug here. But first, actually, I'm not going to put oil pastel in this part though, because I'm going to put like a brown or like a tea colored or a cocoa color or something like that in that part. But I am going to do an outline. So I want my mug to really stand out. So I'm going to go with red here. This is the color of my mug, and I also want to really cover up my pencil marks. So I'm going to go over all the lines with red. Doop, doop, doop. And who knows, maybe your mug is, maybe you have a big heart on your mug, I don't know. Maybe you have lots of little hearts down here. Who knows? I don't know what you have on your mug. You get to design your mug however you want to design your mug. I might put a different color in the inside there. Maybe I'll go with yellow in here. You could also paint in here, of course. You don't have to do all this with oil pastel, and it's a little bit blendy, as you see. So if you don't like that look, you might want to use just paint. But I think I'll go ahead and fill these in the same way so they kind of match. But the oil pastel definitely blends a little bit, which is fine. It's just not super perfect yellow there. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a similar thing to the mug, to the plate. I think I'll do yellow on the outside of this. The only problem with the yellow is you can definitely see the pencil underneath, but that's okay. And then let's see here. Maybe I'll do red stripes to go along with that. And so you see how I'm doing different patterns on different objects here? And then I'll paint it later. And then I'm going to come up with what I want to do for my tablecloth down here. And I think I'll do some sort of stripe, but I want to do a different color than I've done in the rest of my stuff because I want it to show up. So maybe I'll do different green colors down here. Oops. And whatever I do to this side, I'm going to do to that side because we want it to make it look like the tablecloth is coming all the way across. Do you see how we're doing that? So now what I'll do is maybe I'll do some green dots. Derp, 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 derp. Okay. I'm just trying to make it look like a pattern, so that's why I'm doing the same thing for each color here. Maybe I'll go like this down this one. You can really do whatever you want. That's the beauty, because this is your art. Let's see here. Do some spirals. Okay, there we go. So now what you're going to do is, now that you've gotten all the oil pastels and the basic colors down, now you're going to paint it. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start by, because I don't want to forget to paint my liquid in my cup, because I want this to look like, most teas are kind of a brownish color. So tea or cocoa, or you could even say soup. If you want it to be soup, I guess you could make it like a tomato soup. You could make it red, or you could have a chicken soup. Okay, there we go. So I've got that filled in. So now I'm going to color the rest of my mug, and I want it to be colorful. I don't want that to be brown, because I want my mug to look pretty. So let me think what color I want to do. I think I'm going to do yellow. Even though I painted my hearts yellow, I kind of feel like I want it to be yellow. I think that'll work. Oh, I forgot to do a pattern on my handle. I think it's kind of fun to do a pattern on your handle, so I think I'll go back and do that. I think I'll do red. I think I'll just do some stripes. Whoops. So this is definitely a very patterned mug, which is kind of fun. So then you'll paint over the whole thing. And then you'll have, before you do the gluing of the tea bag or the marshmallows or the cotton balls, whatever you're going to glue on, you'll need to let this dry first, because it's gonna be a little wet, and it won't work as well to glue if it's wet. That's not going to work. And with the glue, you'll probably want to use white glue, I'm guessing. Though a glue stick could work depending upon what you're trying to glue. It kind of depends. I think for this bottom part, I'm going to do red. Make it pop a little bit. And even though it's red over oil pastel red, you still see the oil pastel red because it's just darker than the watercolor. And for the tablecloth, I'm going to do I think I'll mix it up a little bit. I think I'll do some green, and then I think I'm going to do dark green over the light green part. Let's see how that works. And then I'll do some purple maybe. Get different color in there. It's kind of fun to play around with different colors. I'm not going to go super dark just because I want it to be kind of a bright, happy looking tablecloth. But honestly, it's your choice. It's your choice how you want it to look. My purple got a little less dark as I went there. I think I added a lot of water. So you can go back and add more color if you need to. I think yellow now. I think I want more yellow. I love yellow. It's such a bright, happy color. It doesn't get too distracting. It kind of lets you see the pattern underneath it. And then I have to do the background still. And that I think I'll do blue for that because I haven't done any blue on this. Kind of intentionally. Let me go back and do blue. Because the blue in these watercolors is kind of nice and I don't know, I like the color. It's a pretty color. When you're doing like around mugs like this, you guys, like around a line, I just messed up. I often edge it first, so I'll do the color along the edge, and then I'll stroke the other way so that I don't accidentally do what I did down there. It helps avoid that a little bit. Obviously not 100% since I just did it, but I'll do the same thing here to show you. You just sort of carefully go along the edge, and then you can be a little less careful on this part, if that makes sense. So I'll go super duper carefully, and then I'll get a little less careful. And that's just a nice little technique to use when you're filling. Yeah, I do this with markers too. Like I'll color very carefully along the edge, and then you can be a little less careful when you're not near other parts of your picture. Okay. There we go. All right, so I think you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm filling the whole thing in, and then I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna put it aside, and I'll come back to it in a little bit once it's all dry, and then I will glue on my finishing touches, all right? So I'm gonna put it over to dry, and that's what you should do too. Don't try to glue anything on yet because you'll ruin what you have. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, friends, my painting is almost totally dry. So now is the time you get to choose. Do you want to have it be a tea bag? Do you want to have it be cocoa or soup, or what do you want to have it be? If you want to have it be a tea bag, take a tea bag, you're basically just cutting the string off the tea bag, so you're not even using the tea bag, so you can save the tea bag for another day. And then what you'll do is you'll just glue, and I think you're going to need to use white glue for this, the top of the string like it's in the mug, right? And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of my tea bag, and the little paper part, and stick that down. And then what I'm going to do is I've pulled the tops of some Q-tips off. So then what I'm going to do is I'll put a little glue going up that way, as you see. And then I'm going to glue down the tops of the Q-tips that I literally just pulled them off. It's really not very hard. So if you don't have a cotton ball, don't worry. I didn't have cotton balls in my house, but I had Q-tips. So I just used Q-tips. So that makes it look like the steam is coming up. And what you can do too, if maybe you want another little thing to come up the side. See, when you pull this, all you do is sort of pull it off, and then it comes off. Isn't that funny? I've never tried to do that before, but it worked pretty well. Maybe you want to have another little row coming up. So you'll only need a couple Q-tips. You won't need too many. This is more fun than I thought it would be. I'm going to start pulling the tops off of all the Q-tips at home. My family's not going to be very happy with me. And you can even like pull it apart a little bit and get, I don't think I realized how much cotton was on a top of a Q-tip. All right, so stick that on down. So now you have sort of like the steam coming up from your hot drink and your tea bag thing coming off. So it's kind of a fun little element. If you don't want to do the tea, if you really want to do marshmallows, let's see how the marshmallows work. I don't think they're going to glue quite as well, but I think they'll be okay. So let's see, you could put, let's see if you put a marshmallow on the top. Oh yeah, that works. You could do that. I mean, this is one weird thing, right? We've got marshmallows and tea in the same container. But it actually works pretty well. That wasn't so bad. It's a little confused, but that's okay. You could even put a marshmallow down there on the plate if you wanted to. That's kind of fun, huh? All right, kiddos. Can't wait to see what you come up with. I hope you have fun. Bye.